The last call I made before I died was hung up by Barnett. He was holding another woman in his arms, cherishing her as if she were a precious gem. That woman was already pregnant, and my mother-in-law was embracing her, congratulating her, and placing a family heirloom bracelet on her wrist. Barnett looked at her, his eyes full of gentle affection. It was a picture of warmth and tenderness. Luckily, their happiness was about to be shattered. Because my death would soon be announced. I floated in the air, watching my body curled up in the snow of the little yard, confirming one thing: I was already dead. Maybe my soul would take a few more days to disperse, I comforted myself. The phone on the ground blinked a few times. It was a call from Barnett. To be precise, it was his return call. The phone kept flashing until it shut down, due to low temperature protection. Barnett, it's too late to call back now. I can't answer anymore. Originally, I planned to die quietly. But at that moment, the snow was falling so gently, and the sound of the swing reminded me so much of the times when Barnett used to push me high in the air when we were children. I suddenly wanted to say a proper goodbye to him. He still didn't know I had cancer. But as soon as I called, I was immediately hung up on. I hesitated, then opened Dolores's Instagram. Sure enough, she posted another video. In the villa Barnett had bought for her, he and his mother were surrounding her, doting on her. I put down my phone, unwilling to watch more of Barnett being affectionate with someone else. My stomach clenched, and another wave of pain surged. I fell to my knees, spitting blood in large mouthfuls, the white snow instantly turning red. I struggled to get up and sat back on the swing. How ridiculous, even in my final moments, I'm adding more stress to myself. Old people, old things, old scenes. Now, with a new woman in his arms, how could he care to look at these things that had long passed? So in the end, I still didn't say goodbye to him. I looked around the small yard full of memories. It was run down and desolate. Only the cold wind passed through the house. Grandpa and Grandma had long passed away, and Barnett and I had already moved out. No one took care of the place anymore. Except for the swing I was sitting on, everything else had already become broken bricks and tiles, no longer resembling the way it was when we were children. The scene was no longer what it used to be, and neither were we. I laughed at myself. The swing swayed gently, and in the quiet yard, the occasional sound of snow falling from the pomegranate tree could be heard. I faintly heard my grandmother's loving voice, "You too, come and eat the roasted rice cakes." On the stove, the white rice cakes were roasting, fragrant and soft. Barnett broke off a piece, blowing on it to cool it, dipped it in a shiny white sugar in a small ceramic bowl, and brought it to my mouth. "Come on, eat it while it's hot, it's the best." The rice cakes were so delicious, and I ate with my eyes squinted in happiness. Seeing me enjoy it so much, Barnett was pleased, even happier than if he had eaten it himself. He patiently went back to break off another piece for me. At that time, Barnett was so kind, always spoiling me. Every time he received snacks or toys from his parents, he would be the first to bring them to me. He would walk around with snacks, his face proud. "If you smile, I'll give you some to eat." I didn't bother with him. I knew, whether I smiled or got angry, he would eventually give them to me. If you had told me back then that Barnett would one day protect another woman and let her slap me across the face, I probably would have cursed you for being crazy. Barnett's parents were busy with work, and my parents were busy with their divorce. So, we both became left-behind children, living at our grandparents' house. But with each other around, we never felt lonely. We dealt with the mean kids who insulted us together, did our homework after school together, and dozed off at our desks together, only to be woken up one by Grandpa. One winter when I was 10, I came down with a high fever due to chickenpox. The adults in the village were all out preparing for an event, and Barnett was the only one at my house to keep me company. Without caring about the risk of infection, Barnett braved the snowstorm and carried me on his back to the town hospital in the middle of the night. I was delirious with fever, groaning in discomfort on his back. He kept reassuring me the whole way. He was only 12 at the time, his young back still fragile, yet he stubbornly carried me for several kilometers, never letting go of my arm for a second. The snow-covered wilderness stretched endlessly around us, but as I clung to his neck, listening to his voice, I felt incredibly at ease. So, please forgive me, later, no matter how much he hurt me, I just couldn't let go. It had been days, and my body lay quietly in the snow. I worried that if someone saw me, they'd be terrified. Sigh, when I thought of dying, I imagined all would be over, but I never considered I'd have to worry about what happened to me afterward. I decided to find Barnett and try to tell him I had died in a dream. Maybe, after my body was prepared, my soul would disappear. There was no one else I could turn to. At least his name was on the same marriage certificate as mine, so asking him to handle my body wouldn't be too much to ask. Before my soul left, I took one last look at the snow-covered ground. It was here, at 15, that Barnett confessed his feelings to me. On a night of the first snow, he knocked on my window and mysteriously said he had something to show me. I stumbled out of bed in my pajamas, and Barnett wrapped me in a warm coat, then carefully took my hand, leading me out to the snow. In the middle of the courtyard, a giant heart was imprinted in the snow, perfectly round and neat. The snow shimmered in the moonlight, soft and bright. At that time, Barnett had grown into a handsome young man. He blushed, hesitated, and said nothing. It wasn't until I yawned and pretended to head back to bed that he panicked and blurted out, "Frida, I like you." I, spoiled and indulged by him, raised my chin arrogantly and replied, "Is it really such a big deal that you had to tell me?" Barnett froze for a few seconds, then both angry and amused, began to tickle me. I laughed uncontrollably, responding intermittently. "I like you too, Barnett." I still remember how he looked at me then. He was both happy and shy, holding my hand with bright eyes, as if trying to burn the moment into his memory. Snowflakes drifted down like fireworks, landing softly on his hair and long lashes. His eyes sparkled, only capable of holding me in them. For us at that time, the feeling was mutual, no words needed to be spoken. I drifted back to Barnett's and my home. But unexpectedly, Dolores was there too. Barnett seemed a little irritated, pacing around the room, before finally stopping on the balcony. He lit a cigarette, and through the dim smoke, his expression was unclear. It was Dolores's first time in our home, and she curiously rummaged through the photos on the wall, the coasters on the table, and the blanket on the sofa. She took a white round disc out of my fridge, poking at it with a giggle. "Is this plastic? It's so hard. Why would it be in the fridge? That's weird." Barnett turned around. "That's a rice cake. If you bake it, it gets soft. Just wait." But it was too late. Dolores had already casually tossed it into the trash. With a loud thud, I clenched my fists. If I had known that after my death, Dolores would waltz into my home and rummage through my things, I should have set it all on fire before I left. Dolores stuck out her tongue in apology. "Barnett, don't be mad, okay?" Barnett stared at the rice cake in the trash for a moment before silently replying. "Forget it, it's not worth much. When Frida gets back, she'll just buy more." Dolores had those innocent eyes, and when she acted coquettishly, she looked soft and cute, always making it hard to stay mad at her. Barnett was now a well-known partner at a law firm, still very busy, and I hadn't stopped the habit of bringing him meals. One day when I delivered food to him, he was in a meeting, so I left the thermal container and went on my way. But then I realized I had dropped my car keys at the office, so I turned back to get them. They must have finished the meeting by then, and outside Barnett's office, I overheard a girl complaining in a delicate voice. "Why is it always the same few dishes? I'm so sick of them. Can't she change the menu?" I pushed open the door without thinking. Barnett and Dolores were sitting by the desk, sharing and criticizing the dinner I had carefully prepared for him. My voice stiffened. "Barnett's been working late, so this meal is specially made to help his health." "Sorry, I didn't prepare anything for Assistant Dolores." Dolores stuck out her tongue and gave Barnett a pleading look. "I'm sorry, Mr. Barnett. I won't be picky next time." Barnett didn't seem to notice anything wrong and even playfully tapped Dolores on the head. "She's calm and sensible, she wouldn't care about such small things. Unlike you, still childish." That wasn't true. Back then, Barnett never wanted me to be sensible. From childhood to adolescence, from the old house to the bustling city, he always said that Frida should be carefree, happy, and that I didn't need to worry about anything because he was always there for me. Until I was 17. That year, Barnett's family went through a tragedy. His father jumped off a building after his business failed, and his mother cried all day long. Barnett started working several jobs, and the pressure, both financially and emotionally, overwhelmed him. When we met again after some time, he couldn't hide his exhaustion, forcing a smile. "I won't be around, so you have to take care of yourself." I felt so sorry for him, thinking it was time for me to take care of him. So I decided I wouldn't ask him for surprises anymore. I wouldn't ask him to call me every morning to wake me up. I wouldn't let him travel far to spend my birthday with me. I wouldn't let him do so much for me. To help him pay off his debts, I also took 2 jobs. I knew he wouldn't accept it, so every month I secretly transferred my salary and the savings from living expenses to his mother, leaving myself only a little. I remember finishing a shift at the coffee shop very late, and on the way home, I was followed by someone. I ran as fast as I could to my dorm and cried after I calmed down, not realizing that I had sprained my ankle. I limped for months before it healed. I never told him about any of this. But Barnett still felt guilty, always apologizing for making me suffer with him. I told him, "It's okay, Barnett. Life is long, you can be good to me later." Barnett's eyes were red, and he placed my hand on his chest, rubbing it repeatedly. "Frida, never leave me, okay? I'll be good to you for the rest of my life, I swear I will." He said this with such earnestness, it almost seemed obsessive. I couldn't help but believe him. How could I not? The promise was for a lifetime. But in just 10 years, everything changed, earth-shattering and unrecognizable. He gave all the affection and love he once had for me to another young, willful, smiling girl. I should have sensed it earlier. When he praised my understanding of him, I could see the regret in his eyes. Regret that those carefree, innocent days of youth had faded into the dullness of life's hardships. When Dolores first joined the firm, still innocent and without any need to hide her intentions, Barnett mentioned her to me several times. "A new girl joined, I really can't handle her." He said it with a sigh, but his eyes held a smile. "She's just like you when you were young, I can't bear to scold her." Even then, I didn't doubt him. Not until Dolores started crossing lines and provoking me. She cried on the phone to Barnett when her apartment lost power. After drinking too much at a social event, she clung to him, forcing him to take care of her for the night. At a celebration party, she boldly smeared cream on his face and kissed him, causing a scene among the colleagues. Because of her, I argued with Barnett over and over. I threatened to divorce him if he didn't fire Dolores. Barnett rubbed his forehead, his tone irritated. "She's just being childish. You used to be the same, shouldn't you understand her better? Why can't you be more forgiving? Firing her over this, what will she do afterward?" His eyes were filled with deep disappointment, as if he no longer recognized me. "Frida, how could you become so mean?" With each argument, our relationship grew more strained. I fell into depression, losing sleep night after night. Every time I was exhausted and wanted to leave, memories of young Barnett would appear. He stood tall in the snow, warm hands, his eyes full of purity and affection. Was he still Barnett? My Barnett, how could he treat me like this? I couldn't leave him, so I started doubting myself. Am I being paranoid? Were they innocent? Should I be more magnanimous? But no matter how much we fought, Barnett refused to divorce me, and I couldn't make up my mind. We just kept entangled. Then, one summer afternoon, I went to the hospital to pick up my test results and bumped into Barnett outside. The elevator was crowded, and he was holding Dolores around the waist with one hand, the other protectively covering her belly, as if afraid someone might touch her. That careful tenderness stabbed my eyes like a shard of glass. I stood across the crowd, clutching my cancer diagnosis and my unanswered phone, trembling in the scorching heat, unable to stop my teeth from chattering. It was the first time I saw them together. All the self-assurances and hopes I had shattered in that instant. When Barnett saw me, he looked flustered and shocked. I lost all my restraint, slapped the face I had once loved so much, and with tears, I asked him, "Is this your idea of being innocent?" Before he could respond, Dolores rushed over and slapped me across the face, leaving me stunned for a few seconds. With her small frame, she fiercely shielded Barnett. "How dare you hit him? When we were kids, Barnett and I fought a lot. Everyone knew, it didn't matter if Barnett got hit, but if anyone hit me, he would go mad and fight them to the death. But I had never been slapped like that." I was burning with rage, and by the time I regained my senses, I found myself in a messy struggle with Dolores. People gathered around to watch, and Barnett tried to separate us. In the scuffle, Dolores fell to the ground, crying out in pain. Barnett instinctively shoved me away and tightly shielded Dolores behind him. His voice was frantic. "It's all my fault, but Dolores is carrying my child. You're going to hurt her like this. Please, stop, all right?" My heart felt like it was being torn apart by a knife. Because of that incident, I could no longer get pregnant. I thought this was a wound we both shared, a painful point neither of us would mention. But in reality, I was the only one left behind. He had his new world. A sharp pain twisted in my stomach. My lips were cracked, and the taste of blood filled my mouth. I vaguely remembered, when I once bit my tongue, Barnett would be heartbroken for days. Surrounded by onlookers, some gossiping, others filming with their phones. Dolores was being tightly protected, while I stood there, defenseless, surrounded by cameras and rumors. At least I couldn't cry, I thought. I forced myself to hold back the tears. Don't cry. Don't give them another joke to talk about. Thank God, the hospital security came and separated us. They took me away from the most humiliating, miserable moment of my life. That night, Barnett came to find me, but I locked the door and refused to open it. He sat down outside the door. Through the door, he kept talking, not caring whether I listened or not. The child was an accident. I got drunk that day and mistook Dolores for you. She looks so much like you. I couldn't help but take care of her. But I never intended to betray you. It's just, she's pregnant with my child. If I don't take responsibility, how can she survive? I'm sorry, Frida. After the child is born, you can hit me, scold me, whatever you want. By then, I'll give Dolores some money and send her abroad. We'll just pretend we adopted a child, and that way, my mom won't pressure you anymore. Frida, I will never divorce you. I'll spend my whole life making it up to you. Frida, wait for me. Barnett came to see me every day, but Dolores wasn't an easy character either. Every time, she'd come with him, causing a scene. Maybe after the last conflict, he was too afraid of us fighting again. To ensure the child's safe birth, he stopped coming to see me. Instead, he sent long messages every day, describing the life ahead, trying to comfort me. I shut all the curtains and curled up in the dark room, self-punishing by scrolling through Dolores's Instagram, seeing her lovingly show off their relationship. Leg cramps in the middle of the night, thank goodness Barnett stayed up all night massaging my legs. I finally got the limited edition I've been eyeing. Barnett is the best. Barnett was still diligently texting me. Just wait for me a little longer. He was so laughable. It seemed he thought he was only taking a temporary break. And I would always wait for him here. Wait for what? Wait for the child to be born, or wait for me to die? I'm living recklessly, neglecting everything, and my condition is deteriorating fast. I'm afraid I won't even make it to the baby's full moon celebration. Looking back on my life, we had so many beautiful memories. But our last moment was him protecting another woman and slapping me in the face. In the days I floated near Barnett's side, I couldn't send a dream, but I saw him searching for me. He grew increasingly restless, even leaving Dolores aside, calling my number every day, hoping to hear it pick up. That night, Barnett woke up with a start. He muttered to himself. Frida, Frida. She must have gone back. Barnett drove through the night, crossing vast snowfields, following the path where he had carried me, and finally arrived at the small yard of my family home at dawn. The yard was already crowded with people, chattering loudly, "It's so pitiful, how could someone die here alone?" He was so young. To have coughed up so much blood, he must have suffered a lot. He was still holding a phone. I wonder who he was calling. When Barnett rushed in, all he could see was my body, half buried in snow. His eyes turned red in an instant, and he desperately tried to pull me out, but the crowd held him back. "What are you doing? We've already called the police. They said they need to protect the scene, you can't go in." Barnett was being held back by several people who wouldn't let him move. From a few meters away, he stared at me, his voice trembling, "Don't scare me, what did you do? Don't scare me. Don't joke with me, how could you?" The word dead stuck in Barnett's throat, caught in his sorrow, and he couldn't bring himself to say it. "Frida, wake up. I'll push the swing for you, please wake up. Please, wake up." I floated in the air, sorrowfully watching as Barnett's desperate screams echoed in the stillness. "Barnett, am I really still so important to you?" After the funeral, my soul remained. I saw Barnett holding my urn, ignoring everyone's pleas, determined to freeze himself to death in that place. He kept murmuring, "Frida, why didn't you tell me you were sick? You must have been in so much pain. I saw the medicine by the bed, you were always so scared of taking medicine, I had to coax you to get you to take it. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you let me be with you? It seemed like something clicked in his mind, and he grabbed his hair in agony, his voice filled with endless regret. What was I doing back then? What did I do? He didn't remain submerged in sadness for long, as the quiet was soon shattered. The news of my death was initially just an insignificant tidbit, until some online detective linked my details with an incident from a few months ago at a hospital, digging up many details. The video of Dolores slapping me in the hospital was quickly shared. The public outrage was overwhelming. Dolores was brutally attacked online and tearfully came to Barnett. "Barnett, come back with me, we need to clear this up. The law firm has been harassed to the point where it can't even operate anymore. That was your hard work, you can't just ignore it. Barnett, please stay with me." Barnett didn't even glance at her, ignoring her words. Perhaps it was too cold in the snow, Dolores couldn't hold out for long, and, stamping her feet, she cried and left. After she was gone for a long while, Barnett, still staring at my urn, spoke in a voice as gentle as when he used to comfort me. "Frida, I'm not going to be with anyone else. I'll stay with you, okay?" If souls could cry, my tears would have fallen right then. If only you had said that sooner. When the news came that Barnett's mother was in the ICU, he finally lifted his head, unshaven and disoriented, as if waking from a dream, and rushed to the hospital. She was the last family he had in this world. At the hospital, Dolores paced anxiously outside the ward. When she saw Barnett, the proud and domineering woman only managed a pale smile before weakly collapsing. Barnett rushed to catch her, calling out for a doctor. His mother was still unconscious, while Dolores was about to give birth. 3 lives were depending on him. Barnett fumbled through the hospitalization procedures, signed responsibility papers, and discussed treatment plans with doctors. After 2 chaotic days, Dolores gave birth to a healthy baby boy, and his mother finally woke up. Barnett breathed a sigh of relief. He had probably forgotten. My urn was still in the old house. Before leaving, he had promised to return quickly to be with me. When his mother woke up, her first wish was to see her new grandson. The baby slept soundly in his grandmother's arms, and Barnett's mother gratefully held Dolores's hand. "Good girl, you've worked hard." She turned to Barnett, her voice frail and weak. "In these past few days, Dolores and I both walked through the gates of hell. Thanks to her enduring so much pressure, she still gave birth to a grandson. I only survived because I heard his cry." She sighed. "Frida was so stubborn, so strong, she even wanted to take revenge on you after death. Look at what she's done to you and Dolores." She took Barnett and Dolores's hands and joined them together. "Barnett, we've been through this ordeal, we should cherish the people who are still here. You still have your mother, and Dolores. And your son. Look at him, he's so adorable, just like you when you were little." All 3 focused on the baby's face. The newborn stirred and opened his eyes for the first time, his bright, round eyes like black grapes, so lovable. "Look. He's opened his eyes," Dolores exclaimed, shaking Barnett's arm. Before him were his caring mother and his newborn son. He was so soft, so adorable, so in need of care. And then there was Dolores by his side, happy but cautious, as if afraid of being pushed away. The morning sun was fresh, shining through the window and into the room, golden and warm, as if carrying the power of a new beginning. Barnett stayed silent for a long time. Finally, he sighed softly, gently cupping Dolores's face. "You've worked hard these past few days." Dolores's eyes immediately reddened, and she tightly hugged Barnett, crying as though she had gotten him back. Barnett gently patted her back, his voice softening. It's all right. Barnett's mother, holding her grandson, looked at the couple reunited and smiled with contentment. In the bright and clean hospital room, the 3 generations were together, and the couple had reconciled. It was a scene of happiness and harmony. All of this happened on the 12th day after my death. I watched everything happening before me in a daze. When I gave the money I earned from working to Barnett's mother, she was so moved, she cried and thanked me. When I broke away from my parents, Barnett had comforted me just like that. "It's okay, Frida, you have me." 20 years of memories flashed before my eyes like a revolving lantern. The tenderness, the happiness, the tension, the fatigue, the times he stayed with me, teased me, spoiled me, loved me, and the times he no longer loved me. All of it was Barnett. Ha 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 ha, I couldn't stop laughing. I was terribly wrong. Terribly wrong. It turns out that even in death, I never truly woke up. At this moment, I realized, deep in my heart, I still held hope for Barnett. I never truly believed he had stopped loving me. Even in death. Even in death. Somewhere deep inside me, I still faintly hoped. Hoped that after knowing I had died, he would regret it deeply. Hoped that he would feel my pain. Hoped that he would genuinely feel guilty toward me. In the end, I was just hoping that he still loved me. Even if that love needed death to awaken it. How foolish. I was so foolish. Even though all the evidence that he didn't love me was right in front of me, I still closed my eyes and blocked my ears, immersing myself in the remnants of a dead love, trying to find some lingering attachment from an old affection that had long since decayed. I did this, hoping for comfort from a love I had given too much of myself to. The dark night has ended, and all the gloom and sorrow have been left behind in yesterday. The sunlight generously showers everyone like a blessing, filling the world with vitality and joy, laughter, and cheer. But only my pale soul remains, hollow and broken under the sunlight. There's nothing more heartless in this world than a lover whose heart has changed. After I was discharged from the hospital, Barnett quickly married Dolores, giving her and the child a legitimate name. As for the online insults, Barnett calmly followed procedure, issued warnings, sent lawyer letters, and even sued one of the netizens. The compensation and apology from the other party were publicly announced for half a month. Barnett is a well-known lawyer in the industry, and handling matters like this is second nature to him. The online outrage quickly died down. But Dolores was still unsatisfied. Her unwillingness to be taken advantage of was clear. After I was attacked online, how could she not take revenge? She wrote a long post. In her highly emotional narrative, she claimed that she and Barnett were true love, while I only loved money and was entangled with Barnett for financial reasons. So, she took to live streaming to testify. My son's ex-wife is a very materialistic person. When they were dating in college, she often asked me for money, very greedy. She simply edited the bank transfer records, swapped the sender and recipient's names, and displayed them. This woman, after my son saw through her, he didn't like her anymore. It was she who faked a pregnancy and forced my son to marry her. After marriage, we found out that not only was she not pregnant, but she also couldn't get pregnant. She sighed with a tone that invited speculation. They were in a long-distance relationship during college, and who knows what she was doing. She's so young and yet can't have children. Dolores is a good girl. That day at the hospital, she only hit Frida to protect little Jing, taking all the blame. It was really unfair to her. There were cracks in her story, and some people sensed it. But with Barnett's legal team involved, no one wanted to get involved in this messy situation. Others, however, believed her words. In the live stream, blessings and gifts flooded the screen. And I became the ex-wife who was greedy for vanity, immoral, vengeful, bitter, and deserved to die early. When Barnett found out, he was furious and stopped Dolores. But he didn't clarify anything for me. After all, they were a family now, a community of interests. If he cleared things up for me, it would be a slap in the face to Dolores, wouldn't it? A dead person is no match for the living. The online outrage continued to boil. Many mistresses became Dolores' supporters, admiring her success, while happily spreading rumors about me. In this absurd drama, the clear-headed stayed silent, while the shameless celebrated. I coldly watched as more dirt was thrown at me. A dead person who can't speak. How can she compete with the silver-tongued living? What I didn't expect was that at this moment, a voice firmly stood by me. Frida is a good girl. You can't slander her like this. The voice was hoarse and sorrowful. It was my mother. I stared at her in confusion. She looked older than the last time I saw her, her face more gaunt, but her eyes were filled with the resolve of a warrior. After Grandpa and Grandma passed away, she had come to find me, begging me to live with her, promising to make up for the years she had been absent. I couldn't forgive her for not being there for me for over 10 years. Besides, back then, I had Barnett. I thought I didn't need anyone anymore. My mother was holding a doll I had given her when I was little, one that I had later returned to her, crying uncontrollably. Through her words of self-blame, I finally understood her pain. It turns out, when I was very young, Dad had cheated, and my mother couldn't handle the blow. She fell into severe depression and couldn't control her emotions, even experiencing hallucinations. She feared she would hurt me, so she sent me away to get treatment alone. What I didn't expect was that when I grew up, I no longer needed her. I also never expected I would repeat her mistakes and lose my life. Dolores began to panic. Ignoring Barnett's warnings, she used all her tactics to attack my mother, afraid that public opinion would shift. She dug up details about my mom's divorce and how we hadn't been in touch for many years. My mom was already in her 40s, how could she compete with Dolores and her army of fans online? She helplessly defended me, but when that didn't work, she stood at the door of Barnett's law firm, holding up a sign, demanding that he clarify the situation for me. But Dolores cried and begged Barnett, now that crazy woman is attacking me. I can't just let it slide, can I? What will people think of me, of the baby? Looking at the small child, Barnett finally gave in. Weary, he stepped out and saw my mom, his gaze avoiding hers. Aunt, the online stuff will blow over soon. Please, don't look at it for now. Slap. My mother slapped him, her finger trembling as she pointed at him. What has Frida ever done wrong to you? You cheated, and she died. And yet you're still pouring dirt on her. Barnett lowered his head and said only, I'm sorry, I'll compensate you with some money, before turning back to the law firm. The security guards held my mother back, letting her cries echo in the entrance. Frida, I'm useless. I'm sorry. It's my fault I didn't teach you better, and now you can't see people for who they truly are. Can't see people for who they truly are. Can't see people for who they truly are. I murmured to myself, regret overwhelming my heart. I regretted it. I should have realized. If I were important, Barnett would have noticed my pain and suffering over the past few months. He wouldn't have let me die alone in loneliness. If I weren't important, how much weight would my death have? How long could it trap Barnett? I did wish for him to suffer and regret it. But that wish should never have been placed on his worthless feelings and conscience. I should have done it myself, pushed him into hell. In that moment of clarity, the image of my younger self began to blur, and the bonds that had imprisoned me faded away. I shouldn't have died. They should have. Just as I understood this, I heard a sigh, as if comforted, from the void. A white light enveloped me, and my soul began to dissipate. Early-stage stomach cancer, surgery must be done as soon as possible. If the prognosis is good, chemotherapy may not be necessary. The familiar words echoed, and the doctor's face slowly became clear. I looked at my surroundings, the examination report in my hand, and realized. I had been reborn. I had been reborn on the day I ran into Barnett and Dolores at their most pitiful. There was still time. I quickly made a decision. Please arrange the surgery as soon as possible, with the best plan and medications. I will fully cooperate with the treatment. In my previous life, after learning of my condition, I was panicked and called Barnett first, hoping he would help me make a decision. But now I knew he was with Dolores, accompanying her for her prenatal checkup, and had no time for me. Leaving the consultation room, I went straight to the obstetrics and gynecology department. They were indeed there. Barnett was still carefully helping Dolores out. Seeing this scene again, one that had broken my heart and made me lose control in my past life, my heart remained calm. I took a photo of them and turned to go home. I was about to undergo surgery, I still needed to rest well. I sent the photo to Dolores. She thought I was questioning her, and with a provocative tone, she shot back. I'm carrying your husband's child. So what if he's accompanying me for prenatal checkups? At least he knows how to get pregnant, unlike you. I sent her the gastric cancer test results, adding a note. I'm dying. Barnett's all yours. Take good care of him. Dolores sent me a suspicious question mark. I didn't reply. When God wants to destroy someone, he first drives them to madness. If I didn't first humble Dolores, how would she ever bring about her own downfall? I researched some information about gastric cancer surgery. After reading for a while, I smoothly opened Dolores's alt account on IG. Just as I expected. Dolores, unable to contain her joy, had posted our chat history on her account, captioning it. Girls, I'm getting promoted. The comment section was full of congratulatory messages. In my past life, Dolores used this account to post little essays showing off her love life, slandering me, and gained a massive following, stirring them up to hurl insults at me. Many mistresses called Dolores teacher, seeking her advice, and she was always happy to oblige. One of them, named Ida, stood out. She was a mistress to some rich businessman, desperate to get pregnant and become the official partner. In my past life, she succeeded, thanks to Dolores's encouragement. Unfortunately, the businessman's wife wasn't as easy to bully as I was. She was a formidable woman who somehow made Ida disappear without a trace. After dealing with Ida, Dolores didn't feel satisfied. She kept searching for Ida's advisor. As a fellow betrayed wife, I thought I should at least help her find Dolores. I sent Barnett the same photo. Barnett immediately called me. I hung up, but he kept calling, so I turned off my phone. Just like in my past life, Barnett rushed home, wanting to explain himself. This time, I didn't immediately shut him out. He was desperate. "Frida, let me explain. It was an accident. My mom found out and threatened to kill herself unless I kept the baby Dolores is carrying." The same old excuses. He still smelled of Dolores's perfume, and I could barely hold back my disgust. I could easily push him away and cut ties with him completely. But that would be too easy for him. After all, I knew that soon, he'd walk out of this marriage and begin a new life with Dolores. So, I gently placed my hand on my stomach, looking dejected. "Barnett, if our child were still here, would you cherish him like that?" The words triggered memories. Barnett's face changed suddenly, and he seemed flustered, unsure how to comfort me. His eyes were full of guilt and sorrow. "I thought you didn't like kids." Of course, he'd think that. Back then, we had just graduated, and Barnett wasn't the distinguished lawyer he was today, wearing expensive suits and carrying a successful career. As an intern lawyer, he was buried under piles of paperwork, constantly working overtime. After work, I'd rush home to make him dinner, hardly eating a bite myself before grabbing the thermos and getting on a crowded one-hour subway ride to deliver it to him. That was when the accident happened. That day, a man who had lost a case was hiding in the office, preparing to take revenge on Barnett. When the chair came crashing down, I instinctively threw myself at him. The sharp pain in my back made everything go black. I heard Barnett screaming for an ambulance, his voice breaking, full of panic. I didn't regret blocking that blow. I just never expected that I was already pregnant at the time. A 2-month-old fetus is the most fragile, and that blow took away our child and made it hard for me to conceive again. When I woke up, Barnett had gone 2 days without sleeping. His eyes were swollen and his chin bruised. He gently touched my forehead and whispered to me over and over, "It's okay, you're all right, everything will be fine." That night, I woke up in the hospital room to find Barnett missing. I took a few steps outside and saw him in the hallway. He had his head and fists pressed against the hospital wall, his shoulders shaking as he sobbed uncontrollably, whispering over and over, "I'm sorry, Frida, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." I quietly returned to my bed. At that moment, I thought, how could Barnett, who even worried when I scratched my finger, the one who promised to protect me, how could he handle me being hurt like this? So, for a long time, to lessen his guilt, I pretended not to care, saying I hated kids. What a waste of effort. How long would he remember? Actually, Dolores wasn't all that clever, and Barnett's heart wasn't that hard to control. It was just a matter of playing on his protective instinct, guilt, and a bit of the fear of losing me. After all, Barnett and I had been tied together for over 10 years, and if I really used some tactics, I'd be much more effective than Dolores. But I couldn't be bothered to do that. I believed emotions should be sincere, even using a little manipulation would stain them. So in my past life, I just drowned in sorrow, stubbornly pushing myself toward a dead end. But Barnett didn't deserve such feelings. He only deserved to be used, manipulated by fake emotions, and played like a fool. I smiled, speaking with a tone of melancholy. How could I not like kids? I'm just afraid it'll make you feel guilty. You never remembered, did you? Every August 20th, only I remember to mourn. Barnett didn't expect the impact that event had on me, and the guilt in his eyes deepened. Frida, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Guilt is a powerful thing. Unfortunately, in my past life, by the time he felt guilty, I was already dead. When you die, immense regret fades with time, softened by family, until it disappears. But now, I'm alive. Not only will I not let it fade, but I'll keep piling it on. It doesn't matter anymore, Barnett. I spoke calmly. Today, while you were at the prenatal checkup with Dolores, I was next door, and they diagnosed me with gastric cancer. Barnett's fragile calm shattered. He held me tightly, his voice trembling. No, Frida, I'll go with you to get checked again. Whatever happens, I'll be with you. But I don't want to see you anymore, Barnett. I pushed him away, my tone still calm. Let's get a divorce. The surgery was scheduled soon, and I was preparing for it actively. Over the past few days, Barnett had been waiting at the door, begging for another chance. He didn't behave like he did in my past life, where he asked me to wait for him, then left me alone to suffer. After all, with my heartbroken, tearful state, it must have been so easy for him to manipulate me. No wonder he was sure I'd wait for him for a few months. But this time, it was different. I was calm enough to make him nervous. And this was when his guilt was at its peak. So no matter how cold I was toward him, he insisted on staying by my side, explaining himself, asking for forgiveness. We celebrated winning a big case that day. I really drank too much. She smiled like you. I haven't seen you smile like that in so long, so that day, I made a mistake. I listened impassively, finally losing my patience. Stop insulting me, Barnett. She looks like me? Have I ever meddled in someone else's relationship? Did I ever get pregnant with a love child? Have I ever shamelessly mocked another woman for not being able to have children? I opened Dolores's secondary account and pulled up all the lovey-dovey pictures she had posted to flaunt her relationship, along with the provocative comments she had made. One by one, I displayed them to Barnett. His face gradually turned paler as he read through them. In the end, he left in a daze, utterly defeated. That evening, Dolores stormed over to my place, seething with anger. What did you do? He actually wants me to give up the baby. Her voice was sharp and irritating, so much so that I had to take a step back, distancing myself from her. I gave her a quick glance and said with an indifferent tone. A bastard child? Why should it even be born? Dolores froze for a second before lunging at me in a fit of rage. You bitch. I didn't back down. Slap. The sound of my slap was loud and crisp. Dolores's face immediately swelled up, blood streaking across her skin. I took a long look at her, feeling a deep satisfaction. Not bad, this slap was much harder than the one she gave me in my past life. Dolores was completely enraged. Just as she was about to continue her tantrum, Barnett, who had arrived in the meantime, grabbed her tightly and dragged her away. He didn't even glance at the tears or wounds on her face, only staring at me with a fixed gaze. I'm sorry. I won't let her bother you again. I watched coldly as Dolores was dragged out, her eyes filled with disbelief. Maybe she couldn't understand how Barnett, who had been so obedient to her just a few days ago, and the husband she had been taunting and bullying, suddenly became so beyond her control. She thought it was her power and charm. In reality, it was simply because she used underhanded tactics, while I was sincere. And now I understood. Sincerity couldn't compare to manipulation. So why not treat emotions like an experiment? Dissect them, analyze, weigh the pros and cons. Who couldn't learn that? During the surgery, Barnett insisted on staying by my side. I ignored him, letting him fuss around me. It was nice to have someone looking after me, especially since it was my own body. Why make a point of resisting? But I still hired a separate nurse named Jody, a sweet and enthusiastic young woman. In front of Barnett, I told Jody, if anything goes wrong during the surgery and the doctors ask for my opinion, tell them to do everything they can to save me. I pointed to Barnett. I'm in the middle of divorce proceedings with him. His opinion doesn't matter. Barnett stared at me in disbelief, his expression hurt. You really don't trust me? You think I wouldn't do everything I could to save your life? I scoffed. You cheated on me, and now you're talking about trust? Barnett immediately wilted. Jody shot him a wary look and nodded firmly. Don't worry, I'll make sure to protect you. Barnett was very involved with my surgery. He hired the best surgeon, and the procedure was a success, no need for chemotherapy. With that ticking time bomb gone, I finally felt a huge sense of relief. After over a month in the hospital, I threw all my worries aside, focusing solely on my recovery. By the time I fully regained my strength, I felt like I had been reborn. And at the same time, I received news about Dolores. The bomb I had planted for her a month ago had finally gone off. Ida had used her pregnancy to corner Dolores. After the wealthy businessman's wife had taken care of Ida, she followed the trail and found Dolores, the instigator. I heard that the day they confronted her, Dolores's screams could be heard from several buildings away. But the neighbors all knew what she was like, and they had witnessed her arrogance before. No one came to her aid, though someone did call the authorities. She didn't keep the baby, and her face was destroyed. Barnett's mother fainted on the spot when she saw what had happened. She still hadn't woken up. During the time Jody was taking care of me, she had managed to gather all the details and relayed them to me, her face glowing with satisfaction over the justice served. I smiled and pinched her cheek. Go buy a cake and let's celebrate. Barnett still refused to divorce me. So I went to find his opposing lawyer and asked him to help me file for divorce. When the lawyer heard there was a chance to defeat Barnett, his eyes lit up, and he became full of energy. If he won this case, his reputation would soar. There was clear, undeniable evidence of Barnett's infidelity, and with the scandal surrounding him because of Dolores, he was too overwhelmed to focus. This case was practically a guaranteed win. When he saw the divorce petition, Barnett fell silent for a long time. Do we really have to go this far? I replied carelessly, yes, why not? In the past, whenever he encountered trouble, I would encourage him and help him solve it. Now, I was indifferent and even throwing salt in the wound. Barnett rubbed his forehead, exhausted, and spoke in a pleading tone. You don't have to go that far. I'll agree to all your terms. The desperation was clear in his voice. The only condition is, please, give me one more chance. Can you? I truly regret it, he said, frustrated. We grew up together, went through all the important moments of our lives together. How could I have been so foolish to betray you? I thought back to my past life, after I had died, how briefly Barnett had mourned me, only to move on decisively and coldly. I couldn't stand it anymore. Barnett, stop with the hypocrisy. You're disgusting. Who needed his cheap apology? Barnett left with nothing, almost penniless. The villa and gifts he had once given to Dolores were all returned and liquidated. Now, everything was under my name. I sipped the herbal soup Jody had made for me, gazing out the window at the desolate autumn landscape. The sunset was fading, time to let go. After all these years, I was making the first move and calling my mom. The phone was answered immediately, and on the other end was my mother's delighted voice. We had finally made peace, both with ourselves and each other. Barnett still hadn't given up. He said he wanted to win me back and cherish me properly. One day, while I was out walking, he showed up again. I had gotten used to ignoring his presence and was talking to my mom on the phone. She mentioned the guy she had introduced to me last time, saying he was very satisfied with me, and asked how I felt about him. I replied, he's nice, considerate, and handsome. I think I could give it a try. After hanging up, I saw Barnett's eyes were bloodshot. Frida, you can't be with someone else. Oh? And how are you with Dolores then? I pointed out to Barnett. Please get this straight. We're no longer together. Who I date, or marry, has nothing to do with you. Barnett hesitated, unable to say a word. Just as we were facing off, a speeding car suddenly came at me. Watch out. Barnett quickly pushed me aside and was hit head-on. Blood filled my vision. In the driver's seat, Dolores was laughing maniacally, her scars twisting grotesquely. You ruined me. You both ruined me. None of you will get away with it, let's all die together. Dolores was quickly subdued. By the time Barnett was rushed to the hospital, he was on the verge of death. On his deathbed, he grabbed my hand and said he wanted to tell me a secret. Frida, the day I confessed to you, I deliberately didn't hold up an umbrella. He smiled faintly, his blood-stained face forcing out a mischievous grin. That day it snowed, and I secretly made a wish that we'd grow old together. Frida, I guess, we've both grown old now, haven't we? I interrupted him, just save your life, I don't want to hear anything else. His smile faded, and he softly acknowledged my words, then fell silent forever. This man, who had once given me the safest embrace, had also hurt me deeply and betrayed me. My heart hurt, but just a little, almost imperceptibly. Why are human emotions so fragile? Why do they wander off halfway and can be so easily deceived? Do we only learn to cherish something after we've lost it? As the year drew to a close, the cold winter snow fell, and I returned once again to my quiet little courtyard. In my past life, I had died in this winter. Across a lifetime of tragedy and ruin, the snow still remained pure and unspoiled. I watched quietly for a moment. The snow fell like a grand funeral. The heavy snow fell all over the sky, like a grand funeral, completely burying the footprints of the boy 10 years ago. Burying the initial heartbeat and the most sincere love, as if there had never been a boy's throbbing here. There had never been a girl who had happily given her heart to him, thinking that it would be for a lifetime. The end.